I don't want to interrupt all the loving. Oh, no. The House will come to order. This morning, the Pledge of Allegiance will be said by Amanda Vargas, Jesus Racinos, Berenice De La Rosa, Zachariah Bunch, Maya Means, and Hunte Sims from Open Door Youth Gang Alternatives.
Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Randall, please call the roll.
Representatives Arndt, Baisley, Beckman. Benavides. Benavides. Excused. Bird. Bockenfeld. Bockenfeld. Representative Benavides is present. Buck. Buckner. Buenteo. Excused. Caravale. Carver. Catlin. Coleman. Cutter. Duran. Escar. Exum. Froelich. Galindo. Garnett. Geithner. Gonzalez Gutierrez.
Who's in the chair?
Gray. Hanson, excused. Harrod.
Mr. Majority.
Putin. Humphrey. Jackson. Jaquez Lewis. Kennedy. Kip. Kraftarp. Landgraf. Landgraf. Larson. Lewis. Liston, excused. Montine. McCluskey. McKean.
We have a resolution.
McLaughlin. Melton. Michelson Janae. Mullica. Neville. Felton. Felton. Ransom. Rich. Roberts. Roberts. Sane. Sandridge. Singer. Sirota. Oh, thank you. Snyder. Soper. Sullivan. Tipper. Tatone. Valdez. Thank you. Valdez D. Van Winkle. Weissman. Williams. Wilson. Madam Speaker.
Oh, you got an amendment? I didn't. With 61 members present, 3 excused, and 1 vacant, we have a quorum. Byrd. Representative Byrd.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Speaker. It is a pleasure to serve with you.
It is a pleasure to serve with you, Representative.
Madam Speaker, I move that the reading of the Journal of Thursday, January 24th, 2019 be dispensed with and approved as corrected by the Chief Clerk.
Representative Melton.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And members, in an unusual fashion, I'm going to actually ask for an aye vote. And that's because we just heard about love and really just embracing each other. So, in order for our first-year member, Representative Byrd, not to have to read the journal, out of love, I ask for an aye vote.
Wow.
Only time love.
Well, we did just get that on video, Representative Melton. I want you to... You've heard the motion that the journal be approved as corrected by the Chief Clerk. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Yes. All opposed say no. No. Oh, wow. The motion passes. Announcements and introductions. Any announcements and introductions? Wow. Oh, Representative Wilson.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I have a couple of introductions. Colleagues, over on my right over here, we have an 8th grade class from Shining Mountain Waldorf School in Boulder, Colorado. So please welcome them to the chamber.
Woo!
Now, the real question is, why would Wilson be introducing a group from Boulder, Colorado, which really isn't in my district? But included
noticed.
in that group, their athletic director and I happen to serve on the CHASA Board of Directors, and he happened to have my number, so we appreciate him connecting with us and for the kids being here. Also on my left, we have a representative group from CASE, the Colorado Association of School Executives, so please welcome the CASE group.
Thank you for joining us, Case and Shining Mountain. Representative Wilson.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So that,
You can lead off today.
thank you, sir. So cowboy and cowgirls and everybody else who chipped in variable amounts and are wearing jeans today, thank you very much. Tonight is the auction, and so far our chamber has raised $2,025. That's the grand total. Whoa, 2,045.
Representative Wilson.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Colleagues, today's the last day you can join the caucus or contribute to this. And I just want to remind you, every penny that goes towards this will be used to purchase a Colorado steer, and that student will use that for their scholarship money. It'll cost us between $10,000 and $12,000 to do this. So we don't have an offering plate to pass, but we could do that. And if you're wondering how in the world you could write out a check for $250 and join the caucus, if you will see me at my desk, I'll tell you how to do that. The money just keeps flowing in. I'm going to keep preaching, and we'll keep passing the hat. But folks, if you want to know how to do that, I can tell you how to do that, and you'll be amazed at how that will work. Representative Titone was talking to me about that, and we covered that. So again, if you are a member of that caucus, you will go to the National Western Livestock Sale tonight, the Junior Livestock Sale, and the food there is unbelievable. Trust me, tenderloin, smoked salmon, it's amazing. So you will be allowed in there to be a part of that, and they will also announce us at the sale. So it's a great opportunity. It's a great thing that we do for the young people of Colorado. So for those of you that have contributed, thank you. For those of you that are yet to contribute, thank you too.
Representative Weissman.
Thank you and good morning, Madam Speaker. Judiciary members, final reminder, we are having a special joint judiciary a hearing on adjournment of both chambers today. Taking a quick look at our calendars, I suspect that the Senate will get done first. We have some bills to discuss on our calendar. When we are done here, when the Majority Leader puts us into recess, please do not leave. We will be heading right over to 271 for commencement of joint judiciary. I'll keep my eye on what the Senate is doing, and we'll try to come down and make a final announcement before we all break out of here later. Thank you.
Representative Soper
Thank you, Madam
and
Chair.
McCluskey.
Or Speaker, sorry. I also have an introduction I'd like to make. I have a constituent here. It's Mayor Pro Tem of Delta, Chris Ryan, and it's really nice to have our local government officials come and see our state legislature in action. And
Representative McCluskey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I am so excited to welcome our Mayor Pro Tem here today, and also want to say that lucky Delta County, they get 2 representatives for the price of 1.
it's a twofer. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Any other announcements and introductions? Oops. Any other? Representative Esgar. You have heard the motion. If there are no objections, Representative Esgar will take the chair.
The committee will come to order. With your unanimous consent, the bills will be read by title unless there's a request for reading a bill at length. Committee amendments will not be read unless requested, as they are printed and in your bill folders. Floor amendments will be shown on the screen and on your iPads and not read unless requested. Bills will be laid over upon motion of the Majority Leader. And I guess since it's Friday, the coat rule is relaxed. Mr. Randall, please read the title of House Bill 10008.
House Bill 1008, Representatives Kraft, Tharp, and Larson, Senators Todd and Lundin, concerning the provision of grants, career, and technical education, capital construction through the Building Excellent Schools Today Act.
Representative Kraft Tharp.
Thank you. I move House Bill 1008, and I move the committee report.
To the Education Committee report.
Sorry, what? Committee report.
The committee report was, sorry.
Representative Larson.
Okay. My apologies. So the committee report, there was an amendment that clarified that one of the, a report issued by the State Department of Workforce was one of many factors that may be considered when awarding the grants for capital construction under the BEST program. And I ask for your support.
Is there any further discussion on the Education Committee report? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of the Education Committee report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Education Committee report passes. To the bill, Representative Kraft Tharp.
Thank you. So this bill is bringing shop class back to school. The gap between the number of skilled jobs available in Colorado and the number of skilled employees is at a record high. Colorado businesses say that their number one challenge is finding enough skilled employees to serve their customers. Despite historically low unemployment rates, many Coloradans, including recent high school graduates, are stuck in unskilled minimum wage jobs. These jobs do not offer a living wage or advancement. In the construction industry alone, tens of thousands of new employees are needed in the coming years. In the next 5 years, members, 50% of the Excel workforce is projected to retire. The lack of skilled employees is already having a dampening effect on Colorado's economic growth and contributing to the increase in project costs for both public and private projects. A growing consensus in both the education and business community is that students not headed to a four-year degree program need exposure to hands-on skills, sometimes earlier generations, through woodworking, machine, or auto shops in junior high and high school.
But schools simply do not have the funding to retrofit or build new career and technical education facilities. And this bill, HB 1008, would permit public schools to apply to the Building Excellent Schools Today program for grants for new or to retrofit CTE facilities. These facilities could be approved for any CTE program such as agriculture, natural resources, energy, STEM, arts and design, skilled trades, technical services, health science and criminal justice, public safety, hospitality, human services, and education. In 2017, a similar bill passed that permits BEST grants for IT. This would simply add additional uses for the money. HB 1008 allows grants to be awarded for all CT programs. Each school applying for a BEST grant can determine what is best for their students and their local economy. The BEST board is still the decision-making body for the grants, and their process for awarding grants has not been changed in this bill. This bill would simply allow BEST to grant awards for CTE projects if the board so chooses to do so. So with that, please support HB 1008 to help our schools invest in the skills for Colorado's emerging skills-based workforce and bring SHOP back to school.
Representative Larson, thank you for joining us for your first, second reading bill. Just a point of order. Wait to be called on to start speaking so those listening at home know who you are.
My apologies.
No, we're all learning.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Absolutely. Is there any further discussion on House Bill 1008? Representative Wilson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Representatives Kraft-Tharp and Larson, I really appreciate you bringing this bill, and I appreciate your allowing me to amend that to make it all-inclusive. Someone a couple of years ago called me the grandfather of career tech and manufacturing here on the House floor. So, colleagues, this is a great bill, and I would ask that you cast a vote for House Bill 1008. It levels the playing field. It opens more doors for our children. Good bill. Please vote yes.
Representative Melton.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And members, I think this is a great bill, too. I wish I had a fact sheet on it, though. But I do think that this should be an aye vote. I ask for an aye vote on House Bill 1008.
Is there any further discussion on House Bill 1008? Representative Kraft-Tharp.
Thank you. Members, let's bring shop class back to school. Please support this bill.
Any further discussion on House Bill 1008? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of House Bill 1008. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. House Bill 1008 passes. Mr. Randall, please read the title to House Bill 1046.
House Bill 1046, Representative Williams.
Mr. Assistant Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move to lay over House Bill 1046 until Monday, January 28th.
House Bill 1046 will be laid over until Monday. Assistant Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move to lay over House Bill 1001 until Monday, January 28th.
At the request of the Assistant Majority Leader, House Bill 1001 will be laid over. Mr. Randall, please read the title to House Bill 1050.
House Bill 1050 by Representative Titone, all Senator Priola, concerning the promotion of water-efficient landscaping on property subject to management by local supervisory entities.
Representative Titone.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move House Bill 1050 and the Energy and Environment Report.
To the Energy and Environment Report.
Within the Energy and Environment Report, we just had a simple fix in the language to make sure that the control over the common areas was to the limited elements for any of the individual homeowners.
Is there any further discussion on the Energy and Environment Report? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of the Energy and Environment Report. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The report passes. To the bill, Representative Tatone.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I come to the well this morning not to draw water from it, but to offer water savings to keep the well running for future generations. Thank you, thank you. As a hydrogeologist, I think that was a fitting introduction. House Bill 1050 makes it easier for HOAs and metropolitan districts to be able to take control over turf grass landscaping. Under the current statutes, common areas may be under the statutes of the covenants and the bylaws, which are very difficult to change. Sometimes changing the bylaws or the covenants requires 60% of the majority of the vote, and it makes it costly for them to get that change made. So this bill just gives the option to the elected executive board to make the decisions to save the precious water and to save money to the residents, over which is a really good thing for the residents, and it's going to save water for Colorado, especially our Western Slope friends who are really concerned about their water over there. I think that this is a really good bill. It's going to be protecting our precious resources and Colorado's way of life, and I ask for a yes vote on HB 191050.
Representative McKean.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. So I have a question about this bill since I didn't sit in committee on it, and that is that so often these kinds of landscaping plans come long before the creation of the HOA. And one of the big expenses is the size of the water tap that those developments are required to purchase for their landscaping. So is there a component in this bill, or would you consider a component to this bill that would actually allow that negotiation to go on after the HOA board is formed, so that cities can reduce or increase those tap fees, which are critically expensive to most projects?
Representative Tatone.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Representative McKean. This bill does not address any of that. I don't think that the original bill that this is tweaking in 2013 addressed that as well, but it's something we can look into, but I don't have any information on it at this time.
Is there any further discussion? Representative Wilson.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Representative, for bringing this bill. I like your humor. I appreciate that. My question is, like Representative McKean, I was not in the committee hearing. One of my big hang-ups with xeriscaping is we put it in, it looks nice, the weeds and the bindweed come in, and suddenly it's the most unattractive part of my community. Is there anything in the bill that maintains that xeriscaping to where it will be attractive, or will it become a haven for all sorts of weeds and so forth?
Representative Tatone.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Representative Wilson. The board of directors of the HOAs in the municipal districts that are in charge of these will be under the watchful eye of these things, and they have landscaping contractors that are coming in to do landscaping work on the turf grass. Xeriscaping has a maintenance to it, and there will be some things that will be under the purview of the HOA boards and executive boards to make sure that it does look good. So I don't really see a problem with xeriscaping look bad over time. Nobody wants their landscaping to look bad, and the HOA board will hear about it if it does. So I don't think there'll be a problem there.
Are there any further discussions on House Bill 1050? Representative Humphrey.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you. My concern is just that I think HOAs should be left to their own business as private organizations. I think that they can already require xeriscaping if they wanted to. I think that would probably not help out with sales in a lot of ways. I'm certainly sympathetic with the water preservation interest in the bill, but I think that that's their own decision to make up their own rules in that regard. And I think as far as was mentioned, the appearance of the yards, that could be a problem, but of course they can make their own rules, and they already do as far as appearance of properties. I rise in opposition to the bill, but I certainly understand the intent behind it.
Representative Lewis.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good morning.
Good morning.
Last year, I remembered us having a bill not about xeriscaping, and xeriscaping's been around a long time. And for those of us that live in the southeast corner of the state, we understand that. We have 8 to 10 inches of rainfall a year. So those of us that landscape with cactus and cholla and yucca and gravel and plastic that we put down and then the turf, other stuff, we understand that, and it works very well. I oppose the bill because I don't believe it's our job sitting in these chairs to determine what an HOA should be doing. Last year we had the dog bill, what size a dog to be in an HOA. This year we're telling them to xeriscape. I urge you to look into it really well, and I oppose the bill. Thank you, in respect.
Representative Wiseman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And members, I actually am on the committee where we heard this bill, and I've read it repeatedly. I urge a yes vote, and I actually think it's a very measured and reasonable approach to the situation. The committee report made an important and material change to reduce the scope of the bill from common elements, which are those pieces of property actually owned by the association as the association. We're now speaking only of limited common elements, that is a term of art in Kiowa, which is property owned basically jointly by a couple of folks, but not by the association itself. The key point here is that a limited common element in the bill as amended by the committee report is not association property. Picture 4 folks who have a little green patch between them. The 4 of them own it. Whether there is or is not a limited common element in a particular association is up to the declarations. The point of the bill here is not mandate, but flexibility. So I think that was a thoughtful and important change that we made at the request of the sponsor. Finally, where the concern here is private property rights, I actually think that you should be for the bill. What this is doing, again, because we're talking about a limited common element only, is giving people who have an ownership interest over that piece of property a little bit more right to do with it what they want, vis-a-vis the control that is otherwise sometimes exercised by the HOA board, which is basically like a government. So if you believe in private property rights vis-a-vis a government, I think that you should be for this bill and not against it. I also believe that it will save water over time to the benefit of places like Southeast Colorado, where we know that there are sometimes buy and dry arrangements going on. So I really think that we ought to be for this bill on both sides of the aisle, and I urge a yes vote.
Is there any further discussion on House Bill 1050? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of House Bill 1050. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. House Bill 1050 passes. Oh, Representative Buck, how I've missed that. Mr. Randall, please read the title of House Bill 1060.
House Bill 1060 by Representative McKean, also Senator Zenzinger, concerning conforming amendments necessitated by the transfer of certain safety authorities from the Department of Public Health and Environment to the Department of Public Safety pursuant to House Bill 12-1268.
Whew. Representative McKean.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and there is no committee report.
To the bill, Representative McKean.
Folks, this is a statutory revision bill. We're moving some things from the Board of Public Health to...
Representative McKean.
Yes, ma'am.
Could you please move the bill and then discuss the bill?
I would be glad to. I move House Bill 19-1060.
Thank you very much. To the bill.
Statutory revision bill. We're moving some stuff.
Is there any further discussion on House Bill 1060? Seeing none, all those in favor of House Bill 1060, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. House Bill 1060 passes. Mr. Randall, please read the title to House Bill 1036.
House Bill 1036, Representatives Arndt and McLaughlin, all Senator Todd, concerning annual stipends for certain nationally certified school professionals.
Representative McLaughlin.
Good morning. I move House Bill 19-1036 as amended.
And the committee report.
And the committee report.
To the Education Committee report, Representative Arndt.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In the committee report, we adopted L001, which clarifies that there are 2 avenues for school counselors to be nationally board certified.
Is there any further discussion on the committee report? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of the Education Committee report. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Committee report passes. To the bill. Representative McLaughlin.
Yes, this bill encourages school psychologists to not only come to a school, but to stay in a school. And there's no fiscal note with this bill. It's money that's already out there. It just adds them to the list of candidates for this special grant.
Is there any further discussion on House Bill 1036? Seeing none, the question before. Mr. Minority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a question, since I wasn't in the committee as well. Is there any sort of tie for performance or performance evaluations to receive this stipend?
Representative Arndt.
The qualifications to receive the stipend is the National Board Certification, which is a rigorous process that master teachers go through and earn it through an additional certification through the National Board. That's the answer.
Mr. Minority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So this could be given to anyone regardless of their performance standards through their own school board or their own principal?
Representative Arndt.
The performance standards are included in the National Board Certification, and that's where they meet those standards. This also is a question of equity between the other school professionals who are already receiving this based on their National Board Certification status, and the school psychologists are also can be nationally certified, and this trues up the law to include them.
Representative McLaughlin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The National Board Certification representative is really, really hard, and not many, he's not listening, not many go through this certification. It's a very, very rigorous certification.
Mr. Minority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Okay, so I'm understanding there's the certification from the National Board, but there's no tie for performance for the actual employer being the principal or the school board. Is that correct?
Representative Arndt.
That's correct, and that's correct for everybody else who's eligible for the stipend as well.
Is there any further discussion on House Bill 1036? Thank you. I'm so sorry. I'm still learning. Representative Baisley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm rising in opposition to this bill for the sake of teachers. So this is a finite amount of money that teachers rely on for stipends to add to their salaries, which I think have always been historically low. I'm trying to do everything I can to get more money into the bank accounts of teachers so that they can have a livable wage. And this takes away from that opportunity. It's a finite amount of money. It's another profession being added to that will take away from that. So for the sake of teachers, I think we need to vote no on this amendment. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion on Representative Arndt?
Thank you. I just want to make a mental health point. If you don't think a school psychologist is a teacher or an integral part of the school, then I think we have a problem. Right now, our school psychologists, there's 1 to every 1,700 students in high school. That is simply not enough. And if we lose these important educators because they're going out of our high schools where we need the mental health services, I think that we're going to have a bigger problem than we already do.
Is there any further discussion on House Bill 1036? Representative Geithner. I'm going to get this.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I support Representative Baisley's comments. It is a finite pool of money, and to disperse that to and take the focus off of teachers, I think just isn't right. It also isn't tied to performance-based pay, which is something that I think would serve our teachers as well as our students far better. So I rise in opposition to this bill.
Representative McLaughlin.
Thank you. We're supporting all educators. Educators are anybody who helps children learn, teach. If you don't think a psychologist in a school is going to be there to prevent suicide, and give the child mental health ability, this is exactly what this bill does. It's to help students, so they are educators.
Representative Buck.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I rise in absolutely opposition to this. It is a finite amount. But the monies that we try to get down to the teachers who need it so desperately, why do we keep ignoring the teachers and giving them their due in terms of increasing their salaries? How many times did we hear it when we saw the protests down here at the Capitol that teachers were not paid enough? Folks, we have so many ancillary programs that we have that the money start pulling away from the teachers and going to these ancillary programs and not to our #1 teachers who are educating our kids. I ask you, please oppose this bill. Thank you. And let them get their monies in another fashion. But we need to get more monies to the teachers ASAP.
Is there any further discussion on House Bill 1036? Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I wasn't going to come down and speak on this, but if we think House Bill 1036 is the barrier between getting more money down to our teachers and in their pockets, then I think we have a misunderstanding of the school finance formula and the fiscal crisis that's impacting our 178 school districts. So let's have an honest conversation about what it actually means to increasing teacher pay and whether or not a simple bill that's helping to recognize school psychologists, which my mom was for 30 years in Boulder Valley school districts, whether or not this is what's standing in the way of teacher pay. Let's just have an honest conversation about that, because this common sense piece of legislation is not the solution or the detriment to the difficulties that the state of Colorado has with our school finance formula.
Representative Humphrey.
Thank you. And members, I think that it's important that we reward good performance. I think that that's a basic standard. I hope that this is a friendly amendment that I'm about to offer, simply to say that schools who are evaluated as above, or teachers who are evaluated as above average in job performance are the folks that we want to be rewarding with these stipends. I think that's a reasonable thing to require, and so let me just go ahead and move L002, and I request that it be properly displayed.
Amendment L002 has been moved, and it is properly on display. Please proceed, Representative Humphrey.
Thank you. So again, evaluated as above average in job performance by the school professionals, local school board of education, and if applicable, supervisors. So fairly straightforward, and I ask for an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion on the amendment? Representative Larson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I am supportive of the underlying legislation here, and I do think it is important that we reward and recognize mental health professionals in our school. That being said, I think it is always a good idea to treat our educators as professionals, and I think that recognizing above average performance is a very common sense and reasonable thing to add into this when we're awarding a stipend. Because of that, I urge support of the underlying amendment.
Is there any further discussion on Amendment L002? Representative Arndt.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I urge a strong no vote on this amendment. Unless I'm not sure if you know what National Board Certification is or the steps it takes to get there. You can read all about it, but that is the national the highest standard you could reach in our nation for being additional certification, become a master teacher. And that's what we're talking about. That supersedes these ratings. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion on Amendment L002? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of Amendment L002. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. No. That amendment fails. To the bill, any further discussion on House Bill 1036? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of House Bill 1036. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. No. House Bill 1036 passes. Mr. Randall, please read the title of House Bill 1041.
House Bill 1041 by Representative Buckner, House Senator Rodriguez, concerning the prevention of human exposure to surgical smoke during surgery at certain licensed healthcare facilities.
Representative Buckner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move House Bill 1041 as amended.
Representative Buckner, would you please move the health and insurance report?
I'm sorry. I move the House and Insurance report.
Thank you, Madam Speaker Pro Tem. To the report.
To the report, there was a very minor amendment that was actually just a matter of words, and it was a technical amendment. So I asked for approval of this amendment of H001.
The question before us is the passage of the Health and Insurance Report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The report passes. To the bill, Madam Speaker Pro Tem.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is a very important bill. It's about surgical smoke. What is surgical smoke? Surgical smoke is the result of the interaction of human tissue with mechanical tools and heat-producing devices such as lasers and electrosurgery knives used for dissection and hemostasis. Perioperative nurses report twice as many respiratory issues as compared to the general public. When surgical smoke is not evacuated, everyone in the operating room, that is, everyone in the operating room, is in an enclosed space and everyone is put in harm. Colorado is already facing a nursing shortage, and we want to guarantee a workplace free of surgical smoke, and this is one way to do it. Affordable technology allows every hospital to be able to provide these devices, and this legislation does not tell facilities how they have to evacuate surgical smoke. It simply requires that facilities have policies in place to protect healthcare workers by ensuring surgical smoke is evacuated. I am asking for a yes vote on this bill.
Is there any further discussion on House Bill 1041? Come on down. Representative Baisley, I see your hand.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd just like to urge fellow members to support this bill, 1041. It's a reasonable bill for something that has not been addressed by statute before. Surprising to me. I figured to challenge it if it was editing something that was already in place. There's nothing in place already, and this protects professionals that probably should have been protected for a real long time. It just makes reasonable sense, and I urge folks on my side of the aisle especially, support this bill. It's a good, sound bill for people that deserve that protection. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you.
Representative Buckner.
Yes, it's a great bill, and the Association of Operating Room Nurses was the catalyst for this bill, and I'm so glad they brought it to the attention of the state of Colorado and the legislature. So I ask for an aye vote for House Bill 1041.
Is there any further discussion on House Bill 1041? Representative McKean.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And, you know, I was just sharing with the chair, I did not know this was a thing. I knew that it existed, I just didn't know that this was a problem that could or needed to be addressed. So I'd like to thank you for bringing this bill. I'd be glad to support it and anything we can do to help out our nurses. But seriously, thank you for educating me.
Thank you, Representative McKean.
Representative Humphrey.
Thank you. And although it's certainly, again, one of those bills where I understand the intent, I just
Representative Humphrey, one moment.
yes.
Members, if we could take our side comments to the side, please. It's just getting a little loud in here. I'm having a hard time hearing people that are in the well, and I'm right here. So please take your conversations off to the side if you can. Representative Humphrey.
Thank you. Everybody's busy working on bills. Thank you again for your attention. I just feel that this bill isn't necessary. I think the hospitals are looking out for their folks, and they buy this equipment as they need it, and they already also have circulatory air systems that they use. So I'm just not comfortable with the mandate in the bill, and although I understand the intent, so I encourage a no vote. Thank you.
Is there any? Representative Buckner.
Representative Escar. Thank you, Representative Humphrey. I, too, want to make sure that we do not have an excess of bills. This really isn't a mandate. it is just asking, it is just letting each facility know that they have to have a policy in place. It's really interesting. Everyone thinks that the existing circulatory systems in hospitals gets rid of this smoke. Well, guess what? It doesn't. Have you ever been in a hospital and you've been out in the hallway and you can smell burning flesh, basically? This is the kind of smoke I'm talking about. And for anyone who works in a hospital like I used to, it is very frustrating. And as far as respiratory issues, masks do not keep out the particles that would affect respiratory issues. So just a regular mask won't do it. This is a quick fix. The hospitals already have these devices. All they have to do is add the suction tube to the cautery device, and it sucks out the smoke, protects the patient, protects everyone in the operating room. It's an excellent bill.
Any further discussion on House Bill 1041? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of House Bill 1041. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. House Bill 1041 passes.
Thank you.
Mr. Randall, please read the title to House Bill 1014.
House Bill 1014 by Representatives Singer and Byrd, all Senator Janal, concerning the retail food establishment inspection process, connection there with detailing the process for the suspension of retail food establishment's license for a certification of a license.
Representative Singer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move House Bill 1014 and the Business Affairs and Labor Report.
To the Business Affairs and Labor Report, Representative Singer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Business Affairs and Labor Report just clarified the correct section of statute that we wanted to refer to in one section of the bill, and I ask for an aye vote. The bill came out of the committee unanimously.
Is there any further discussion on the Business and Labor Affairs Committee report? Seeing none, question before us is the passage of the committee report. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Committee report passes. To the bill. Representative Byrd.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Members, this is a great bill, an opportunity that we rarely see where public health department regulators and the business community have come together and agreed on a good way to manage our restaurants to make sure that they are serving their great dishes, but then also protecting the public's health, safety, and welfare. This is a pro-business, good government bill, and I humbly urge your support and request an aye vote.
Representative McKean.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. So I asked this question in committee, and I just would like to ask you again on the record. And that is, we all know in New York City and other cities where you go into a restaurant and you see the placard says they have an A food grade or a B food grade. Please tell me we're not heading toward a grading system like that.
Representative Byrd.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And Representative McKean, thank you for the question, and I assure you, no, we are not moving to a restaurant graded system.
Is there any further discussion on House Bill 1014? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of House Bill 1014. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. House Bill 1014 passes. Mr. Randall, please read the title to House Bill 1028.
House Bill 1028 by Representatives Hooten and Ransom, all Senators Quorum and Fenberg, concerning the conditions for medical marijuana use for disabling medical conditions in connection therewith adding autism spectrum disorders to the list of disabling medical conditions for the medical marijuana use.
Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move to lay over House Bill 1028 two bills to the end of the second reading calendar.
At the request of the Majority Leader, House Bill 1028 will be laid over till the end of the second reading calendar. Mr. Randall, please read the title to House Bill 1077.
House Bill 1077 by Representative Roberts, all Senators Tate and Pedersen, concerning authorization for a pharmacist to dispense a chronic maintenance drug to a patient without a current prescription in limited circumstances.
Representative Roberts.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move House Bill 1077 and the Health and Insurance Committee report.
To the committee report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In the committee report, we added a few technical amendments to make sure that the original prescription power of doctors wasn't interfered with. I'd ask for an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion on the committee report? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of the health insurance report. All those in favor, please say aye. All opposed, say no. That report passes. I think. To the bill, Representative Roberts.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, I am very proud to bring forward House Bill 1077 to you today. This bill is named Kevin's Law in a lot of states in honor of Kevin Howdeshell, who passed away because he did not have access, could not get access to insulin, and he was a type 1 diabetic because his could not renew his prescription over the holidays, and he passed away because he did not have access to the medicine he needed to stay alive. There are people with diabetes, with MS, with HIV, and all types of conditions that need medicine to stay alive, and running out of a prescription or not being have access to their doctor because of the holidays or a long weekend or something like that should not be a reason for them to not get the medicine they need to stay alive. This bill allows pharmacists to dispense those life-saving medications in very limited emergency circumstances, and it will truly save lives. I'd ask for an aye vote.
Representative Tatone.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was at the committee hearing for this bill, and we heard a lot of great testimony from a lot of people that came up talking about things that happen in everyday life that gets in the way of their critical medication. Dropping a vial of insulin on the floor before it's their last one, and this will really help to save lives of so many people. This is a very critical bill. I urge an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion on House Bill 1077? Representative Roberts.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to move an amendment to this bill. I move House Amendment L003 and ask that it be displayed.
The amendment has been moved and is properly displayed. Representative Roberts, please explain.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is an amendment that came at the suggestion of my colleagues, Representative Jackson and Representative Baisley. Because this bill will save lives, it will allow people to get medicine immediately, they suggested that we remove the petition clause and add a safety clause so this can go into effect as soon as possible. I'd ask for an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion on Amendment L003? Representative Baisley to the amendment.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would urge a yes vote on this amendment. The urgency does call for that. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Is there any further discussion on Amendment L003? The question before us is the passage of Amendment L003. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no? Amendment L003 passes. First time I've heard that happen with the safety clause. Is there any further discussion on House Bill 1077? Seeing none, Representative Baisley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Let me just echo the importance of moving the authority from doctors and folks that are generally unavailable at late hours, after hours, to the pharmacist who can make a decision and get that medicine where that medicine is needed immediately. This is an important bill. It's good for a lot of people, and it will truly save lives, and I urge everyone a yes vote on this bill. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Is there any further discussion on House Bill 1077? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of House Bill 1077 as amended. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. House Bill 1077 passes. Mr. Randall, please read the title to House Bill 1044.
House Bill 1044 by Representatives Kraft, Tharp, and Landgraf, House Senators Todd and Quorum, concerning advanced behavioral health orders determining the scope of treatment for an adult who wishes to receive under certain behavioral health circumstances.
Representative Kraft, Tharp.
Thank you. I move House Bill 1044 in the committee report.
To the committee report.
So
Representative Kraft, Tharp.
Thank you. So,
The committee report. Can we describe this first? Yes.
so this bill has had extensive stakeholding up to about 15 minutes, actually 15 minutes ago, but we had a number of amendments that we made in the committee. So we included civil unions as one of the partners in as that would be a conflict of interest, and so could not be a witness to this this advance directive. That we included language around emergency medical personnel as requested by the psychologist, that they did not fit into the practice of nursing. We clarified MI holds takes precedence over the psychiatric advance directive. And now I think we will be having an amendment to the committee report.
One moment. Representative Landgraf.
They're drafted incorrectly. So she's having them redrafted, I think.
And so we would like to ask for a moment while we prepare this amendment that we need for the committee report?
The House will stand in a brief recess.
Thank you. Very helpful.
They
What the
drafted.
heck you doing, Lois?
I didn't know. The drafter brought this to me and said,
The House will come back to order.
Thank you. Thank you.
Representative Kraftart, we are still on the committee report.
Thank you. And so with that description of the amendments that were passed in the committee, I ask for support of the committee report.
Is there any further discussion on the Public Health Care and Human Services Committee report? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of the committee report. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Committee report passes. To the bill, Representative Kraftart.
Thank you. So members, Representative Landgraf and I are very proud to bring you House Bill 19-1044. This is a bill that has been in the making for a long time with the mental health community really struggling over this and really being in touch with the intended need for this procedure. This establishes in-state statute, an official document that can help alleviate confusion faced by all parties when an individual is unable to express his or her medical needs during a time of crisis. 27 other states have already incorporated psychiatric advance directives. Here we refer to them as behavioral health orders for scope of treatment. Colorado has advance directives for end of life and DNR directives located in section 15 of our statutes. This bill would add psychiatric advance directives to this section of the statute, providing for a more whole health advance directive. I ask for your support.
Representative Landgraf.
Thank you, Madam
Chair.
Wanted to make sure. I would like to introduce Amendment L010.
Representative Landgraf, would you please move that amendment?
I'm sorry. I would like to move Amendment L010 and ask that it be displayed.
That amendment has been properly moved and is displayed. Please proceed, Representative Landgraf.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This amendment was brought by the insurers, and what it does, it makes sure that an insurer may not refuse to insure, refuse to continue to insure, or limit the amount, extent, or kind of coverage available for life insurance, health insurance, or within an annuity to an individual, or change an individual rate for the same coverage based on somebody having a behavioral health orders.
Is there any further
Ask
discussion?
for a yes vote.
Is there any further discussion on Amendment L010? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of Amendment L010. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Amendment L010 passes. To the bill, Representative Landgraf.
Oh, thank you, Madam Chair. I've heard this bill called the missing link. Up until now, mental health has been done to people. This allows people with behavioral issues to participate in their care. I ask for a yes vote.
Is Is there any further discussion on House Bill 10044? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of House Bill 10044 as amended. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. House Bill 10044 passes. Mr. Randall, please read the title of House Bill 1028.
House Bill 1028 by Representatives Hooten and Ransom, all senators quorum and Fenberg, concerning the conditions for medical marijuana use for disabling medical conditions in connection there with adding autism spectrum disorders to the list of disabling medical conditions for approved medical marijuana use.
Representative Hooten.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It is an honor to serve with you.
And it is an honor and pleasure to serve with you.
Members, okay, I move, thank you, Madam Chair. I move House Bill 1028.
To the bill, Representative Hooten.
Members, House Bill 1028, most of you who were here last year are familiar with it. We're bringing it back again. It would add autism spectrum disorder as a qualifying condition for a recommendation of medical marijuana. Currently, we have eligible conditions right now are cancer, glaucoma, HIV or AIDS positive, post-traumatic stress, a chronic or debilitating disease or medical condition that produced one or more of the following: wasting syndrome, persistent muscle spasms, seizures, severe nausea, or severe pain. This bill would add an additional condition eligible for recommendation. It requires, as is laid out in the Constitution, it requires a diagnosis of the patient having a disabling condition by 2 physicians. The bill aligns with our constitutional requirements. Thank you. I urge an aye vote.
Representative Ransom.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This bill was heard in committee just this week, and I think probably all of us at least know someone that has a child with autism, and it is such a difficult life for these families. We had a room full of families, many of whom were able to bring their kids, many of whom were not able to, because these children, we heard stories that would just break your heart. Kids that are hitting their heads against the wall, children that have injurious behaviors all the time, kids that may or may not be able to function in school. And then we heard also these families telling us about children that have one of the other conditions that Representative Hooten just mentioned, things like epilepsy or severe pain, and they are allowed to be able to use bits of medical marijuana. And remember, this is all over the spectrum. This might be CBD oil, it might be actual, different levels of medical marijuana and different levels of the chemicals within it. But they see huge improvements in the children that have a patch or get the oil for their epilepsy, and it stops the seizures, and then they would see huge improvements on how they were dealing with their autism condition as well. And I actually agreed to be part of this bill because of parents that are desperate for solutions. These parents are wanting so bad to keep their kids at home, to function as a family with their other children, to be able to have children that actually are part of their family. And for some children, this is an effective way to deal with the condition. It doesn't work for everybody. 2 doctors are required to confirm the actual condition and the actual diagnosis, but we want to just give these parents options, these parents that are desperate for a life that you and I take for granted to consider normal with our children. These families do not have the same normal that we do with their families. So with that, I ask for your support on this very important bill.
Representative Geithner.
Members, I rise in support of this bill. For me, it's pretty simple. This is parental rights. I would never want to stand in front of a parent and how they choose to medically treat their child, and so I would urge a yes vote. Thank you.
Representative Caraveo.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
colleagues. I am currently the only doctor serving in the Colorado legislature, and as the only doctor, I rise in opposition to this bill. Most of my life has been devoted to the pursuit of science and the devotion of serving others, and I have devoted countless hours in acquiring the scientific knowledge I would need to provide hands-on care for my patients. Having practiced medicine for 6 years since completing my training, I have seen the difficulties my patients have in accessing quality medical care, which I value as a right that all Coloradans have or deserve. I have seen the barriers healthcare providers face in providing that care, however. Legislators, while always well-intentioned, often hamper the practice of medicine by putting law ahead of science. And as doctors, we are usually too busy providing care to make our voices heard on issues that affect our calling and our care. Healthcare decisions are made in this building every day, and these decisions affect the care of my patients every day. It was for this reason that I decided to take my advocacy outside of my clinic and run to join you all under this dome. As some of you may recall, a bill similar to 1028 was heavily opposed by the American Academy of Pediatrics and Children's Hospital last year. My esteemed medical colleagues, who are part of the largest group of child health care advocates in the country, and the doctors who I share the care of my patients with at a trusted pediatric hospital, share my reservations about the state of science, of the science behind the use of marijuana as a medication in children. The physicians and advanced practice professionals that I practice with in clinic also have reservations about such treatments. We see children with severe autism, and I have participated in the care of many of these children. Whenever I have to tell parents that their child has a limiting, severe, and chronic disease, my heart breaks for them because I know that there are few treatment options that I will be able to offer as their doctor. However, I have limited experience in providing this medication to children, and at least in the United States, we have limited experience. And so as a doctor, I always take time to have these conversations with my patients, tell them that while I don't know all of the science behind this, I am willing to talk to them about their medical condition and treatment that is a last resort. And then I ask them to speak to a doctor who has more experience in these issues. I've seen medical marijuana work for some of my patients. I had a teenage boy who was highly aggressive, self-injurious, was very difficult to control by his parents. And even when he would come into clinic, we would question how we were going to do basic medical procedures on him because of that aggression. After being treated with medical marijuana, his behaviors vastly improved. But while I see the anecdotes, I don't think we can take the anecdotes of some and extrapolate them to the care of all. And we can't always extrapolate what makes sense under a golden dome to a medical clinic. In medical school, I was often told your life is going to be different from those outside of medicine. Medicine, I was told time and time again, is a jealous mistress. Perhaps being tied to a profession that jealously takes over your life, your time, and the way you view the world is what makes us doctors such jealous guardians over the care of our patients. Pediatricians, much like parents, can hold on too jealously to the care of the children we devote ourselves to because we know that for them, the world is different. They are not little adults. They have different healthcare needs, different physiology, different legal needs, and they cannot speak for themselves. As an advocate for my patients, I have become accustomed to speaking for them. This bill, however, in my opinion, takes away my ability to be part of a very important conversation and the lives of some of my most debilitated patients. By removing language that would make a primary care provider or psychiatrist integral to the confirmation of autism diagnosis, children will be driven away from the care of their medical home in order to be cared for by providers whose primary specialty is recommending medical marijuana. Through this process, and because families may perceive that their primary care provider will be biased against such treatments, I fully anticipate that when this session ends and I go back to the care of my patients in May, I will be caring for children who will be receiving medical treatment that I do not know about. I will not have the information I need to track their symptoms or their progress, the possible interactions with medications I may prescribe, or I may end up dealing with side effects that I cannot attribute to a treatment that I do not know exists. Despite my reservations on legislation getting ahead of science, I attempted to improve this bill by ensuring that primary doctors would be part of the conversation in the treatment of patients with a new medical option for their debilitating disorder. As my amendment did not pass, I was the lone dissenting vote for this bill in committee, a committee I was assigned to because of my medical experience. I will again vote no on this bill today because I believe that a child's primary care provider should be part of their medical treatment, no matter what specialty that is undertaken by. If I send a patient to see a cardiologist, a neurologist, a psychiatrist, a gastroenterologist, or any other specialist, I continue to be part of their care and to be informed and aware of the changes that have been made to their treatment. This bill drives the care of children away from physicians who are best suited to manage their overall care and blinds them as they continue to advise on future medical issues. We all took an oath earlier this month to advocate for the people of this state, but I took another oath about 10 years ago. It says in words that you may not recognize if we modernize the words of Hippocrates, I swear to fulfill to the best of my ability and judgment this covenant. And there's one of my potential patients.
We call him Junior Representative Gray.
I will respect the hard work scientific gain of those physicians in whose steps I walk and gladly share such knowledge as is mine with those who are to follow. I will remember that I do not treat a fever chart, a cancerous growth, but a sick human being whose illness may affect the person's family. My responsibility includes these related problems if I am to care adequately for the sick. May I always act so as to preserve the finest traditions of my calling, and may I long experience the joy of healing those who seek my help. I cannot fulfill this oath to my patients if I am not part of their care. I would be interested in continuing to work with the families affected, just as I do work with them in clinic, to find a compromise that would keep an important care of their child in the medical home. As a sole physician here, I may be the sole vote against this bill, but I hope you will understand the covenant that holds me so jealously to that, and I must use that standard to judge any piece of legislation that will affect my practice and my patients. Thank you.
Representative Ransom.
Thank you, Representative Caraveo, for that explanation and for your thoughts. I think everybody here respects your education and what you bring to our chamber. We have had doctors here. I know, well, gosh, my first 2 years, there were 2 doctors on the Health Committee, one of whom is now over in the Senate that actually I know does support the bill, but that's neither here nor there. I just wanted to make sure that I responded to a couple of the points that you brought up. One is that there is current research going on. We've heard that that we don't have proven ways to work with the children with autism, and the current medicines that are available, we heard from parents have very bad side effects, debilitating side effects for some children. Again, that is why we need to have options for parents, because there are 2 current drugs, one of which Risperdal, and then we heard Valium as well. But some of them just, excuse me? Abilify was the other one, excuse me. And we just heard some horrifying side effects on some children. And again, we do recognize that medical marijuana does not work for all children, that we are just offering an option. We don't expect that every child will be put on this. We want to give parents an option, and that is all this bill is trying to do. There is current research going on with medical marijuana. We heard that it might be finished within a couple of years, and I'm going to tell you what one of the moms said when we were told by one of the persons that came in to testify on this bill. They were concerned about the side effects of medical marijuana on children, that there might be damage, there might be some negative things that come out in this study. Well, this mom said, well, what if there was some damage to my son with autism from getting medical marijuana? I can tell you right now that him banging his head against the wall daily with self-destructive behavior, banging his head against the wall, that will cause brain damage. And, you know, listening to this mom, you can tell my heart is still broken, recognizing what these parents go through on a day-to-day basis. We are not in their homes with them. They do go see the doctors, and I want them to be able to stay in touch with their primary care physicians for the other realm of medical issues that the parents then have to decide how to treat. There are various treatments for many things that kids get. You know, you have to decide as a parent sometimes between different options and different treatments that are available. Even for things as simple as strep throat, there might be different things available. And we talk to our doctors. We want to get options. Again, that's all we're trying to do with House Bill 1028 is give parents another option. And while we wait for this research to come out, these parents are suffering. These families are just throwing their hands up, trying to deal with their children. If you were in the middle of a crisis, would you want to wait 2 years? I wouldn't, and I don't want to force these parents to wait 2 years for the double-blind studies in this country to come out. There have been studies done in other countries that we already have available to us. So again, I urge an aye vote on this bill.
Representative Hooton.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I would also just like to thank Representative Caraveo, an absolutely wonderful asset, valuable asset to our chamber. And I do appreciate her perspective on this bill. I can say I've been working on this bill for the past 2 years. As you know, last year it passed overwhelmingly from both chambers. We had 9 hours of committee hearing with all the families and their children. It was pretty dramatic. Just a couple of points I'd like to make. I know at this point all evidence of success is anecdotal because we cannot do double-blind studies as long as marijuana is a Schedule I drug. We can't do that, but other countries have done it. Israel, the Netherlands, Chile, all with very promising results. And I will say this, for the last 18 years, children who have epileptic seizures have been successfully treated with certain strains of medical marijuana. We are not talking recreational, we're talking medical, supervised by physicians who have given up the right to have malpractice insurance, to get coverage from Medicaid or Medicare. They are frontiers people. They see the difference that this treatment makes on children with severe disabling conditions. It's not toxic. Either it works, helps children, or it isn't, or it doesn't, but there has not ever been reported some horrible side effect to using medical marijuana. I want to make that point. The second thing is, I agree with Representative Caraveo that it really should not be the purview of legislators to be adding conditions. And I agree, it really shouldn't be. In the Constitution, it is the State Board of Health who has that responsibility, which they have never exercised. They, in 18 years, have never added one disorder. And in the meantime, as legislators, we have families coming to us in great need, and we, because the State Board of Health will not act, we had to take action ourselves. Do I think this is our wheelhouse? No, it's not. But we are dealing with suffering families in our communities every day, and this is why we bring this condition to you. This is why this state, 18 years ago, legalized medical marijuana, because they recognized the value of it. Okay, the third point I want to make
Representative Hooton, keep on going.
Thank you, Madam Chair, is that 11 states have already added autism spectrum disorder to their medical marijuana legislation statutes. And I think Colorado, it is high time that we do the same. So I urge an aye vote. Thank you.
Representative Lontine.
High time. Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Representative Hooton, for your very passionate defense of your bill. I want to state before I say anything else that I am in complete support of this bill. As a person with a family member on the autism spectrum, I do see how families are affected. The behavior of a patient on the spectrum can truly be heart-wrenching, isolating, very, very difficult for the family. And I can't even imagine the pain of the patient themselves. My grandson, Sean, will be 5 in February. I'm not sure that this is something that may help him. He doesn't have a lot of the more severe behavior that we see that has been alleviated by some of the some of our witnesses testified on in relation to using medical marijuana to treat their kids on the spectrum. But I do certainly sympathize with them and understand. But I also want to point out, I respect the experience and knowledge and wisdom that Representative Dr. Caraveo has gained through her practice of medicine, and she treats young children. That's what a pediatrician does. And we had a lot of debate Wednesday night, not just on the bill itself, but around a specific amendment that Representative Caraveo felt was important to her. And I'm not bringing it forward, but I did want to mention it, and I think it's worthy of just some understanding of the body as a whole as to exactly what she was asking for. The bill is already written, requires that 2 physicians that have diagnosed the patient as having a disabling condition be who would recommend. The amendment that was brought forth Wednesday was that one of those physicians would not be the recommending physician, but would be simply a part of that patient's care team, and that they would simply attest that this person did indeed was on the autism spectrum. And that was it. Having watched the process of diagnosing a child with autism, there is always going to be a medical professional involved in that diagnosis. And then even if they aren't further involved in that patient's care, that diagnosis will be passed to a doctor or provider to let them know that they are treating a patient on the spectrum. And so all we were trying to ask was that those doctors be included, that they were already a part of that kid's care, and just to let them know and attest to this condition. That was it. They were not being asked to be part of the prescribing or recommending team. I would ask if you have any questions about that to speak further with Dr. Caraveo. I do recommend an aye vote. We do have a lot of folks who are really struggling, and I don't know that there's any other relief available to them. And even it may or may not work, but you know what they're doing now is certainly not working. And so we ought to at least give those families the ability to try. Thank you for listening.
Representative Jackson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I, too, because now her new nickname is going to be Dr. Representative Caraveo.
Or Representative Doctor.
Or Representative Doctor, whichever you prefer. I, too, would like to thank Representative Caraveo for her expertise. You know, we all come into this building with different life experiences and life stories, and that relates to the kinds of legislation that we run. I sit on the Health Committee as well, and my perspective there is I'm the consumer. I am sort of just the average Joe, or Joanne, whichever you prefer. It was so impactful to hear the stories from those families who came in to testify. And much like one of my colleagues said previously, there were mothers there who were saying, please give me this option. I have done everything in my power. It is the only thing that is going to help me help my child, and I can't fathom being in that situation where you are so desperate and there are no other answers. One of the things that we did hear, though, which nobody has mentioned, is from parents in some more rural communities. Parents who, there was a lot of conversation about the doctors and the physicians who should be part of this care team, the continuing care team, medical homes, having expertise in child development, being a developmental pediatrician, all of these various and sundry things. And a lot of these rural parents were saying, look, I just don't have access to that. And does that mean that my child wouldn't have access as well? So I'm going to stand here and speak up for those more rural parents who are really looking for solutions for their kids. And then I'm just going to cite one thing, because we did talk about the use of cannabis in kids. It was also in testimony in which there was a citation of an article from JAMA, which is pretty prestigious, the Journal of the American Medical Association, along with the University of Pennsylvania. It was an analysis called The Association of Cannabis with Cognitive Functioning in Adolescents and Young Adults, and it found that cannabis use is not independently associated with any residual change in intelligence quotient or executive function. So members, please, I ask you to support this particular piece of legislation. We have many families who are suffering. Thank you.
Representative Melton.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and members. I rise in strong support of House Bill 1028. I had the privilege of sponsoring similar legislation last year, which, as Representative Hooten mentioned, received broad bipartisan support in this chamber and in the Senate. Members, I understand the concerns. I heard those same concerns last year around having kids being able to have access to medical marijuana, but this is nothing new. And when I hear from the moms, and I heard from one specific mom last year who said that she had two kids, one that was suffering from epileptic seizures and one that wasn't, but both kids had autism. And when she said that the one child that had the epileptic seizures who did have access to medical marijuana was improving so much that their symptoms were being addressed so well, and that the other kid wasn't allowed to take it, she actually said, in some ways, I wish both kids suffered from seizures. That's sad. That's sad to hear that a mom say, like, I wish my kid suffered from seizures so that way they could take this medicine in order to address the other issues that they're suffering from. Members, we're just trying to expand the options and the choices for parents to be able to treat their children. And I think that that is what's most important, is that parents lead that discussion. You know, I absolutely respect the physicians' positions. I think that this has a number of guardrails, important guardrails, but at the end of the day, it needs to be the parents that make that ultimate decision and not wish that their kid had a symptom that did fall within the current statute. Members, I ask for an aye vote, and let's give the parents this choice and these options.
Representative Sullivan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, colleagues. I come before you, and I struggle when I look out at everybody trying to see where I fit in, and trying to figure out what my expertise is. And I think it starts with being a dad. And as a dad, I went to my share of birthday parties. And this last summer, I went to a birthday party. And I can only say it was a birthday party because there was cake and there were balloons there. It really wasn't a birthday party, it was a fundraiser. While I was at that fundraiser / birthday party, a woman came up to me and told me the story of her family and her son who was suffering from autism. She told me the story of having moved here from another state to try to get the help and support she needed to raise this son who was suffering badly, and that the use of cannabis oil and medical marijuana was going to be her salvation to having her son lead a normal life. She told me the story about coming to this building and standing in the back there and sliding through the names and the cards to people that were sitting down here and not getting any responses from anybody, that no one wanted to hear her story. She told me the story about walking upstairs and setting up appointments and making phone calls and not getting any responses from anybody about the problems she was having with her son. Her name is Michelle, and I should be better at this by now. Believe me, I should. Her name is Michelle, and she asked me to help her son get better. I told her I would. So I ask for your support for Michelle and her son. Thank you.
Representative Sullivan, thank you so much for sharing her story. Representative Sandridge.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I come from a district that really didn't approve of marijuana use. They're one of the small portions of El Paso County that didn't vote for it. And when I have my community meetings, they ask about, how can we get rid of marijuana? But as time goes along, they're growing more accepting to it. So as a representative, I have to look at them and understand why they don't approve. But one thing to note is, one thing they really don't approve of is the government getting involved in their relationship between them and their doctor and them and their, what they approve of uses of remedies to help their child. So with that said, who am I to get involved if a parent wants to use marijuana to help their child? Is this a situation where we need to save parents from themselves? Are we going to trust parents to make their own decision about their own children? Parents don't need to be saved from themselves. They can make their own decision. So whether you like marijuana or not, whether you think it's a cure or remedy for autism, I don't know if it's really the issue here. Are we going to trust the parents to make their own decisions? Are we going to intrude in their decisions between them and their children, them and their doctor? So I am. I don't vote for very many marijuana bills, but I voted for this one last year. And it's because I properly represented my district. They don't want the government getting involved in these decisions. So again, I'm going to vote in favor of this because I am representing my district, and I hope everybody else will strongly consider voting in favor of this bill as well. Thank you.
Representative Harrod.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, I see this bill as being pretty straightforward. I want to remind folks that this is Colorado. This is Colorado. We are a pioneering state. It is time for us to stop stigmatizing marijuana use, allow parents to make decisions for their children who have a very real disorder that has also been stigmatized, and pass this bill today. We should not decide as a legislature what a parent can do with their child when a conversation should be happening between a doctor and a parent. We should not add additional restrictions to keep that conversation from going forward and to keep that child safe and healthy. This is a very simple bill, members, and it is high time that we pass it. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion on House Bill 1028? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of House Bill 1028. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1028 passes. Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that the committee rise and report.
You have heard the motion. Seeing no objection, the committee will rise and report.
The House will come back to order. Mr. Randall, please read the report of the Committee of the Whole.
Madam Speaker, your committee of the whole Big Sleeve report is under its consideration the following attached bills being segregated. There is following recommendations there on House Bill 1008 is amended, House Bill 1014 is amended, House Bill 1028, House Bill 1036 is amended, House Bill 1041 is amended, House Bill 1044 is amended, House Bill 1050 is amended, House Bill 1060, House Bill 1077 is amended, passed on segregated over gross place account for third reading and final passage. House Bill 1001 and House Bill 1046 laid over until January 28, 2019, retaining their place on the calendar.
Representative Escar. There are amendments at the desk. Mr. Randall, please read the Humphrey amendment.
Representative Humphrey moved to amend the report of the Committee of the Whole to reverse the action taken by the committee in not adopting the following Humphrey Amendment L002 to House Bill 1036 to show that said amendment passed and the House Bill 1036 as amended passed.
Representative Humphrey.
Thank you. And members, I move the Humphrey Amendment to the Committee of the Whole.
Representative Humphrey.
Members, this goes back to the discussion on the stipend issue, and I think that we really should take a second look at this. Let's not, violate what would be basic business practice. Let's reward teachers with a stipend who have a solid track record of performance. So I urge your aye vote on the amendment.
Representative, is there any further discussion? All right. Seeing none. The question before the House is okay, Representative Arndt.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I urge a no vote.
If there's no further discussion, the question before the House is the adoption of the Humphrey Amendment. Mr. Randall, please open the machine, and members, please vote. Representatives Buck, Coleman, Galindo, McKean, Pelton. Representative Pelton, that is a $2 fine. With 22, oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Randall, please close the machine. Otherwise, Representative Humphrey is going to start changing his vote around and... With 22 aye votes, 39 no votes, 3 excused, and 1 vacant, the Humphrey amendment fails. There are no further amendments at the desk. So, Mr. Randall, please open the machine. And members, please vote on the report of the Committee of the Whole. Please close the machine. With 58 aye votes, 3 no votes, 3 excused, and 1 vacant, the report of the Committee of the Whole passes. The next item of business is introduction of resolution. Mr. Randall, please read House Joint Resolution 1005.
House Joint Resolution 1005 by Representative Roberts, also Senator Donovan, concerning water projects eligibility lists.
Representative Roberts.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, I am proud to bring before you House Joint Resolution 1005 concerning water projects eligibility lists. There is funding already allocated in statute for these water projects, but in order to be eligible to apply for that funding, the projects need to be listed in this resolution. It's a resolution we do every year, and I would ask for your support.
Representative Gray. Oh, Representative Roberts.
And I would like to move House Joint Resolution 1005. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Good move, Representative Roberts. Representative Gray.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, I'm glad to continue my annual tradition of being the only one who speaks on this resolution. It's actually really important. This program is something that helps fund water infrastructure in places where it's really hard to afford it. And water infrastructure is really, really expensive, and it's really hard to do. And we spend a lot of time talking about, especially about finding ways to afford infrastructure, especially in rural areas where tax bases and economic bases aren't as strong, and it's really hard to figure out. This is a program where we helped solve that problem a long time ago with the Drinking Water Revolving Fund. And I would encourage you to take a minute, take a look at this resolution. The programs and the projects that we're going to be funding are listed right there in the text of it. See if those exist in your district and then be excited about it, because this is a program that's existed for a great number of years now, but it's a way that we have helped establish some funding to pay for clean water all the way across the state, and a way for our entire state to work together and be able to afford some of those projects. So take a minute, take a look at it, and if there's one of those things happening in your district, then get excited for it, because it's a really great program, and please take a minute to review it. Thank you. Yes, I'm a infrastructure and finance nerd. Thank you.
Representative McKean.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So anybody here who was on the C3 trip to House District 51, raise your hands. There you go. So what you got to see when you went on that trip was the site where Chimney Hollow Reservoir will be built. That reservoir represents 35 years worth of 365-day-a-year deliverable water to my town. So when we pass these and we hear these resolutions, understand these are tangible things that we do so that we can provide the things our citizens need. So I urge your support. I actually agree with Representative Gray.
Representative Soper.
Well, thank you, Madam Speaker. I too also rise in support of the resolution. I mean, water is the lifeblood of Colorado, and the fact that we have a projects list right here, there's one in everyone's district. It's something that we can all get behind, because these are projects that help people live their lives. I mean, not just be able to water their lawns and turn on the tap to have drinking water, but to be able to grow crops as well. So this is very important for Colorado. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we will do a voice vote. All those in favor of House Joint Resolution 1005 say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. House Joint Resolution 1005 passes. I think that brings us to announcements. Oh, co-sponsors. Oh, Mr. Randall, please open. Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move that the current roll call be added as co-sponsors.
Seeing no objection, the current roll call will be added as co-sponsors. Announcements and introductions. Representative Weissman.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Judiciary members, as promised, final reminder, when we gavel into recess here, please be over to the Old State Library 271 within about 10 minutes. The Senate has completed their work, and we will be getting going with the joint judiciary hearing shortly. Thank you.
Representative McKean from lovely Loveland.
From lovely Loveland. So I told you I'm not going to do this every day. I didn't do it yesterday, but I'm doing it again today. So this box is here for your Valentines. Don't be slow in putting them in there because it has to go all the way up to Loveland. Little old ladies have to stamp them, and then they have to be put back in the mail to get to the people you love from Loveland. So just here you go. It's going to be on my desk. Put them in there. I'll collect them. Thank you very much.
Representative Singer.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. 2 announcements. First of all, Joint Technology Committee will be seeing you at 1:30. Second of all, Colorado Cannabis Manufacturers Association would love to do a lunch and learn with all of you Monday, January 28th at noon, House Committee Room 109. We'll be talking about the Sunset Review and all the questions that you were afraid to ask but desperately need to know about marijuana manufacturers policy. Come on over, come grab me, or you can RSVP. I've got the fact sheet right here. Looking forward to seeing all of you Monday at noon, House Committee Room 109 for a lunch and learn.
Representative Galindo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. If you saw me a little late on my vote, it's because I was waving to a group of students who are here from Greeley, from university schools. So welcome to the Capitol. I think they made their way to the Senate chambers right now, but I just want to make sure everyone knows that Greeley's in the House. So thank you.
Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, don't forget that today is a bill deadline. Today is a bill deadline. Today is a bill deadline. Get your bills in by 4:30. 4:30.
Then we will do reports of committees of reference.
Committee on Energy and Environment, after considering the merits of the following, House Bill 1071 be referred to the Committee of the Whole favorable recommendation. Committee on Finance, after considering the merits of the following, House Bill 1010 be referred favorably to the Committee on Appropriations. House Bill 1013 be amended as follows and as amended be referred to the Committee on Appropriations favorable recommendation. Committee on State Veterans Military Affairs, after considering the merits of the committee recommends the following. House Bill 1021 be postponed indefinitely. House Bill 1022 be postponed indefinitely. House Bill 1049 be postponed indefinitely.
Printing report.
Chief Clerk reports following bills.
Printing report will be printed in the Journal. Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move that the following bills be added to the second reading calendar for Monday, January 28th. House Bill 1071, House Bill 1042, and House Bill 1104.
Seeing no objection, the bills will be added to the second reading calendar for Monday. Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move that the House stand in recess until later today.
Seeing no objection, the House will stand in recess till later today.